Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second Global Coherence Pulse. Our very first pulse was last month, and we maxed out our Zoom capacity with many more participating through our partner Awake TV's live stream. So I'd like to start with a huge thank you on behalf of all of us for such an amazing response to the invitation to create a Global Coherence Pulse. Last month, we spent much of the call introducing this initiative, and that recording is on our website, there for you if you'd like to listen. For now, I'm going to summarize our intention by saying that it's to contribute to a world where the love of power is eclipsed by the power of love, of gratitude, of compassion, of joyful appreciation. And not just make that shift, but also turn up that power. Today's brief focus before our meditation is on the science behind how we make that shift, on the science of the heart. That's the foundation of this collaborative effort. So we really get to what's possible in terms of real world outcomes when we come together in the heart simply to express this energetic quality of coherence. And also, so we really get the potential of our gathering to feed our collective field with coherent heart energy, to benefit ourselves, humanity, our planet, and all life, and to reach a tipping point in global consciousness. Thankfully, group meditations are nothing new. And thankfully, there are many more rising up in response to our global crises. Much of the heart science isn't new, having been discovered over 100 years ago. What is new is the understanding of the agency we each have in creating coherent energy through our own heart. What is new is the collective commitment to intentionally put into action this new understanding and new skills for creating whole system health and well-being, or whole system coherence, self, social, and planetary, and help science tell an even greater story. One of our interconnectedness with all life, of the power of love and compassion, and not just the actions they inspire, but the quality of the coherent energy itself to shift our world. Our host is Dr. Roland McCready, Research Director at HeartMath, the organization that's pioneering this new understanding for more than 20 years, and that coined the term heart coherence. Roland's also my colleague at HeartMath's Global Coherence Initiative, and I'm going to hand it over to you now, Roland.
Great. Thanks, Claudia. What a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. Well said. I'm going to show a few slides. You all asked me to share a little bit about some of the science. I'm going to be very brief here, though, I promise. Okay, so let me share this.
Please don't be too brief.
Well, yeah, but I should start with this for those that want a much more in-depth kind of overview and understanding of some of the science behind global coherence and the Global Coherence Initiative. Teresa was kind enough to do a recording with me last week, and that is posted on the Global Pulse website. So I think she's going to divide it up into some sections, I believe, to make it a little more palatable. It's about an hour and a half long. So I titled today's session for the Global Coherence Pulse, "What are you feeding the field?" And hopefully that'll become clear why I say that, because I am suggesting here at all of us on the research side here are suggesting that we are always feeding the global field. And a lot of what we're talking about is becoming more coherent in what we're feeding the field. So coherence is a kind of a big term, but although I think most people have an intuitive sense of what coherence means. And if you look it up in the dictionary, it's usually, the first definition, I think every dictionary I've ever checked, is it in the context of the quality of somebody's speech or writing. So hopefully I'm putting my words together here in a way that convey a meaning that's coherent and above and beyond the individual words. And if I was uttering nonsense, you would say I'm incoherent, right? So it's similar in a lot of ways to how it's used in physics. Of course, we didn't invent the term coherence, although we are using it in some unique ways, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But coherence is a kind of a big umbrella term that embraces a lot of different things that we can measure, whether we're talking about the activity within the brain, the body, even in society, in our social groups, and as we'll see here globally. And it, in a, so coherence in physics or science is almost always in the context of a complex system, that has lots of parts, and where those parts have to work together in a harmonious way to be able to create a function greater than the sum of the parts. So that's one of the implied things about a coherent system, is that it is its wholeness is greater than the sum of its parts. And it also implies, and more than implies, means that those parts of the system have to somehow be talking to each other. They have to be connected somehow, whether that's through energetic or magnetic fields or through biochemical interactions. Many ways that things can be connected, but there has to be a communication among the parts of the wholeness. And if we're talking about a coherent system, whether that's us or society, it means stability. And one of the key concepts is that it's energy efficient. Coherent systems are very efficient in their use of energy, and an incoherent system less so. I mean, we can still, in fact, one of the definitions, one of my friends who unfortunately passed away too young, Mei Wan Ho, I know if Claudia, you know as well, and others, is actually defined the difference between a living system and a non-living system, because we're made of the same stuff, basically, as coherence. When we bring in this quality of, in her terms, quantum coherence, that is what makes a living system versus a non-living system. So coherence has a lot of importance, I think, in our understanding of the world we live in and ourselves. And so our research over the past 30 years has really been in three main kind of categories where we talk about coherence. So personal. So when we talk about our personal coherence, it's how well are the various parts within our bodies and our brains and hearts working together in a harmonious way. And there's a lot of benefits, as we'll see, from being able to learn how to be more coherent, how to shift from incoherence to coherence. In fact, there's over 400 independent studies now that have shown when we teach people how to get more coherent and maintain that coherence, that it has a really wide range of benefits across lots of different types of populations and many different types of outcomes, whether that's children doing better in school, learning better, being able to get along better socially, lowered blood pressure, a lot of clinical things that are benefits. And then in the recent years, our focus has been more moving into the social and global levels. In fact, we're developing new programs. In fact, the Global Coherence app that Teresa kindly introduced us to is really part of this work. So when we're talking about a coherent or incoherent social level, how coherent is our relationships in our families, in our work teams, in our communities, or even our states and countries, right? And global, which is really where the global coherence pulse comes in, is what's the harmonious order of the world, but even more specifically to our work here, what we're doing, is the interaction and the connection between humanity, all of us together. You could think of all of us, sorry, as cells in a big global brain. So how harmonious are we interacting with the Earth itself and the energetic systems? And some surprising findings have been coming out of that work that we would never have predicted, that are showing we're far more interconnected with the Earth itself and each other in the Earth because of our connection with the rhythms of the Earth than I would ever have dreamed. This is where following the data pays off rather than kind of. I've learned not to predict what studies are going to show, because usually the outcomes are a lot of times are better than what we could have imagined. So when we talk about personal coherence, yes, it has a lot to do with measuring the interaction between the body's internal systems and how we can shift into that state, and has a lot of these benefits. But an even deeper, I think, and more important aspect of what we mean by personal coherence, that's what I'm saying on the top of this slide. It's clearly it's an optimal state that we want to shift into, but it's where the mind and emotions are brought into alignment and sync with the energetic heart's intuitive guidance. That's really the big game in town, I think, in today's world, is really getting the heart and brain, or heart and mind, in sync and aligned under the management and guidance of our heart. And in fact, I would suggest that the biggest source of stress in people's lives globally is this lack of alignment between the heart and mind. So you might think back over the past few days or week, how many times have we been asked to do something, or thought we ought to go do something, but we had this deeper inner prompting, this deeper sense of, well, maybe that's not the right choice, right? Maybe I ought to pause on that one, and we don't follow it. And isn't if we think back, usually, at least in my experience, after hindsight, it lets us know, yeah, it would have been better if I had followed that inner prompting. Or on the other hand, we can maybe say something to someone that caused some hurt feelings or created a separation, and have that inner prompting that, we should probably clean that up, call them, go talk to them, reestablish the heart connection. But oftentimes we don't follow through on that either, right? So that's what I really mean by this lack of alignment. So hopefully that is a brief kind of explanation, but I think this is our big game in our personal lives, how we navigate life, is really working on that coherence between the head and heart. Now, physiologically speaking, our personal and inner coherence is reflected in the best way in the patterns of our heart rhythms. In fact, on the Global Coherence app, it was a screen we didn't show earlier, you can actually see your heart rhythms in real time and how coherent or incoherent they are. And one of the things that the Global Coherence app does is measure our coherence, and does that for all the people in the group globally. So these two graphs are from the same person, for those that are new to this kind of work. And the kind of chaotic, edgy looking graph on the right side, on the left side here, is what we call incoherence. And this is the rhythm and the message, in a way you could think of it, that our heart's beating out and sending to the brain and the whole body when we're feeling or experiencing feelings like irritation or impatience, frustration, fear. And what this is reflecting is quite literally, this is not a metaphor, showing us that the activity among those subsystems in our body are out of harmony, out of sync, and using a lot of extra energy. So it's a very energy inefficient state. Whereas this is the same person, the graph on the right side, is what a coherent heart rhythm looks like. And our heart rhythms are naturally more coherent like this when we walk out the door and you go, God, what a beautiful day, like it is here in Northern California today. You just go, oh God, it's beautiful. And the grass is all green, and you just have that natural sense of appreciation, right? But kindness, compassion, gratitude, when we're the heartfelt experience of these, we're naturally feeling or naturally in this coherent rhythm, which turns out to be directly related to the order and harmony within our body systems. So we're using a lot less energy. So it's really kind of fascinating how our mental and emotional worlds correlate so closely, or co-vary so closely with what we can measure in our physiology. And of course, a lot of the heart math techniques that we've developed over the years are about how do we shift from incoherence to coherence in the moment, right? While we're in the middle of the traffic jams of life, in the interactions with people that might not be going so well. How do we make that shift? I'm just going to, I've been showing this in a lot of the presentations recently because it's so relevant to today's world. And this was a study we did back in the mid-1990s, a long time ago now, but very relevant for today. This is where we had a large group of people, and we brought them into the lab twice. One time, then we measured what's called salivary IgA, which is the first line of defense in our immune system. Right? This is the main first line of defense against viruses and colds and these types of things. So we measured the IgA, and this is the group's average you see there in the first dot on the left. And on one day, we had them just recall a time in their life that they got frustrated and angry, frustration and anger, and just kind of relive that feeling for 5 minutes. That was what they did. Then we measured their IgA right after that, and that's the red line you see here. And we see a little bump, and that went along with some increased autonomic nervous system activity that would cause that. But look what happens the next hour. The IgA level plummets, and it actually stays below that baseline level for the following 6 hours. Now, this is just from 5 minutes, right, of experiencing self-recall, not even the real thing, frustration or anger. And of course, any of the depleting emotions, fear, anxiety would all do the same thing. Now, the same group then on another day came in and see their IG levels basically the same, the blue line when they started. Now, in this case, we just had them recall something that brought up feelings of compassion and care. And really just feel that, kind of breathe those feelings and experience that for 5 minutes. Here we see a big jump in IgA, actually a significant jump, statistically speaking. And then it kind of comes back down to normal, but has a tendency to increase throughout the rest of the day. So anyway, I just wanted to share this one study because I think it's so relevant in today's world, and how as we learn to take more responsibility and understand how we really can have more choice in our emotional diet, right, in the emotions, and especially with all the stresses and so many levels going on in people's lives today. Not just fear about the virus and all, but fear and anxiety around loss of income and the isolations and many different things that are going on for so many people. Now, kind of shifting more into both the social global relative to the science. When we put electrodes across the body and measure the heartbeat, we're measuring electricity, the flow of current. But whenever we do that, we know that a magnetic field is created. And so the heart creates a literal magnetic field, which radiates external to the body and can be measured externally. I know this is true because we can measure it with scientific instruments called magnetometers. Now, what's really interesting here, and I think important to understand, is that magnetic field is literally carrying information, probably about many things. But the thing we know for sure is about how the vibrational patterns of this information changes in real time, really, based on our attitudes, our emotions, and our intentions. We can measure this, and we can also measure how it's affecting others around us, right? And so you can think of this as your personal field environment, because it literally is. And I think we all know this intuitively, right? That we talk about it in our language. Sometimes if it's not a great interaction, people say, it's God, the tension was so thick, you could cut it, you could cut it with a knife, right? These types of things. But a number of experiments have now been done to show that when we're coherent, or someone is coherent, that we can have a measure of more coherent field environment, that it actually has a lifting effect on others in a measurable way. So even a few people radiating more coherent heart energies into the environment can really elevate and help lift the interactions that we're in and facilitate more connectedness. We can even measure that we become more synchronized with each other and aligned. And of course, that is one of the keys to having better outcomes in those interactions. So just briefly, as I know, Claudia, you're going to do a more focus on the Global Coherence Initiative in the next pulse. But basically, we all live within the Earth's magnetic fields. And this is, if you want more details, go see the longer science presentation. But basically, what we're suggesting here is that these real measurable fields connect every living organisms on the planet, including us, right? Animals, plants, trees, we're all living in the field. We really can't escape it. So we're all living in this common vibrational field, and we're all contributing to it. We're all feeding the field, either our positive or negative vibrations of the field, into this kind of giant field computer, you can think of it that way. So the whole idea here between GCI, the Global Coherence Initiative, and why the Global Coherence Pulse is so important is when lots of people come together like we're doing today to pulse the field. And I see there's almost 300 people right now on the app here, hopefully, that we're pulsing the field with more heart-centered states of love and compassion. We put a stronger signal into the field environment, right? A more coherent, and one of the things about coherence, by the way, is it organizes the noise, right? When we bring coherence in, we're helping, or taking the chaos into coherence, organizing the noise and putting out a stronger signal that can help all other living systems that are within that larger field, right? So it can really help offset a lot of the stress and fear and anxiety in the planetary field that's currently going on. So that's why these pulses in my world are so important. Now, of course, to do science, we have to measure things. So we're excuse me, creating what's called the Global Coherence Monitoring System. And this is a global network of really fine, exquisitely sensitive magnetometers that are specifically designed to measure the rhythms and the fluctuations, the vibrations in the Earth's magnetic field. Okay? And then along with some other instruments I'll talk about. So this has really given us, I think, one of the largest experiments ever for intentionally evolving human consciousness. So we're already seeing from the studies that have been done how deeply interconnected we are with each other in the Earth through these types of measurements. Now, another set of measurements, a really neat scientific instrument from my perspective is called the Global Consciousness Project. Of course, our dear friend Roger Nilsson created this about 22 years ago when he was at Princeton, and it's still going today. And I won't go into details here, but my favorite study that Dr. Nilsson's done is what I'm showing you here. Over many years of many events, that basically what this network is, a global network of random number generators, these devices that are very hardcore devices to create random strings of numbers. But what we now know is that when something evokes human emotion, large outpourings of emotion from lots of people, it affects this global network. And it's the whole network is affected. So we really have a probe into the global field environment. So what he did was he divided the number of these larger events into these three categories. So those events high in love and compassion. So this would be like the global peace days, where lots of organizations bring their members together to pulse the field with more compassion or love, and these types of events. Medium are events like soccer games and Super Bowls, big games, a lot of emotion, right? But not necessarily a lot of love and compassion. And then low are the events that trigger more fear, these types of things like terrorist attacks or tsunamis and earthquakes and so on. But really fascinatingly, what we see so clearly here is that when something evokes an outpouring of compassion on Earth, it has the biggest, significantly bigger effect on literally interacting with these physical devices and changing their behavior. So what we're seeing here from this is that our consciousness does matter. It changes devices in the physical world. So this is a great kind of study, I think, that summarizes what hopefully I'm saying here. Because when we are more loving, more compassionate, we're more coherent. Our field environment is more coherent, measurably. That couples to the larger field environment, and we can see that reflected in these kind of instruments. The last thing I'll share here is around the science. We're creating also a new global network of the Citizen Scientist Project that allows us to measure the electrical activity of trees. As I'm saying, all living systems are in the field, including trees. And trees make wonderful research subjects because they don't run away. They don't mind having us put a couple little electrodes in them, and they have actually quite complex electrical activity. So we hope to have this launched this year. We're getting very close. It's way more complex than we thought what it would be. So what we'll have here is the global coherence monitoring system, the magnetic system of the Earth, the global consciousness project data. In fact, we're creating a version 2.0 of that in conjunction with Dr. Nilsson, and kind of bringing that into the same house here, so to speak, and the global tree network down the road, so that we'll have this kind of consolidated monitoring system of these different ways of probing the field. And then, of course, the global coherence app, and this is why this is so important, because we want to measure us, the humans, what we're adding to the field, what are we feeding the field, and being able to see how that's affecting the world and other living systems. So that's kind of the vision of the science here. So basically, my kind of message here is it's time to feed the field with more love and care for each other. And I really do believe, as I think Claudia, you and Teresa would probably agree, that we're a point in history in the evolution of consciousness where we really have an opportunity to make a leap. And part of the shift energies we're talking about into the new level of consciousness is a more cooperative world and a more compassionate ways of being with each other. So that's hopefully a kind of a brief overview of the science that makes sense to everybody, hopefully. And so with that, I don't know if you want to make any comments there. If not, we can start the meditation.
Yeah, let's for sure move into the meditation. And Bree, if you'd pull up the app again, maybe we can have the pulse kind of there for us to just see. Mostly we'll be closing our eyes and tuning in, but it's nice to see. And then, yeah,
See, we got,
let's drop in. Thank you for that.
so we've got 326 people right now all over the world here that with us in the Pulse that are using the app. Okay, so let's settle in, kind of relax. And first, I want to breathe feelings of peace and love through your heart area. And we're going to do this for a few minutes just to set a calm and genuine tone. So breathing the feelings of peace and love, this helps open the heart. So let's do this for a minute or two, then we'll go on to the next step, next phase. Now connect in the heart with all people around the planet who are radiating love and care to people affected by the challenges of the coronavirus. See the rise of the human spirit helping to reduce fear while magnetizing needed solutions for personal, community, and global well-being. Now let's send our most sincere appreciation, love, and compassion to all the healthcare providers and others on the front lines and behind the scenes helping people while putting themselves at risk. See them surrounded by our love, care, and compassion as they selflessly care for others. Now, let's radiate love and compassion into the planetary field environment, seeing our collective heart energy easing and softening the impact of stress. As we do this, hold a vision of the coronavirus inspiring deeper connections among people and more harmonious cooperation for the good of the whole. Let's sustain a vision for the highest, best outcome and for the people moving into the next level of their capacity for unconditional love and compassion. And we'll do this for about 10 minutes. And if you find yourself wandering back to the head, thoughts coming in, just gently pull your consciousness back to the area of the heart. Breathe through the heart, radiating love and compassion into the planetary field environment. Okay, and you can kind of gently come back now. Open your eyes and know that we have collectively pulsed the field with our love and compassion to help lift the field environment for all.
Hey Bree, let's shift over to Claudia. Thank you so much, Roland. That was really, really special. Let's switch over to Claudia. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roland, and everyone. As we shift out of this deep space, we're also shifting to the last phase of the call. And before we do that, there was a question in the chat that I noticed. It was someone who said, I am not on the app. Am I still contributing coherence? And that's the point, isn't it? We are always contributing something. We're always feeding the field. We had over 300 people on the app, but over 1,000 people on the call. Everyone was contributing to the field through their heart emanations. And there's a whole spectrum of incoherence, which is a reflection of stress and anxiety in the human system, to coherence 24/7. So this is why it becomes so critical that we become aware of it. I'd also just quickly like to point out that just as we don't need to be mechanics to drive our cars, we don't need to be scientists to be skilled with our own hearts. But through science, we can observe our skill building, and we can measure our contribution. We can demonstrate what wisdom traditions through the ages knew all along. The French philosopher Teilhard de Chardin famously put it this way: someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we'll harness the energies of love. And then for a second time in the history of the world, men will have discovered fire. Coherence is our birthright. We just have to claim it, practice it, commit to it, to harness it for creating a thriving world. And not only when we're pulsing together, but in our daily lives. That's when we'll really discover its power. And the last scientific inspiration today comes from the Nobel physicist Ilya Prigogine, who demonstrated that in complex systems that are far from equilibrium as our world is today, small islands of coherence can shift the entire complex system to a higher order. We can be those islands, and we can create that tipping point. Thank you for meditating with us today, and back to you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. Roland, that was beautiful. You see the comments in the chat. People really had a beautiful experience in the meditation. In fact, I saw one right after it was done. Is it normal to cry after, while this is happening? And I think there's so much that gets released as we do that. We're just going to spend a few minutes. If you'd like to stay on with us, the official part of the call has completed. But if you'd like to stay on, we'd like to share a little bit more about some things that HeartMath has to offer. They've been really generous with some of their courses and things. Also some upcoming pulses that we're going to have. And also today, there is a whole variety of things that are happening, the Global Days of Unity and some other things. And I'm going to put a bunch of links in the chat. So let me do that first. And Bree, I put a message out to you of some other partners that you could bring on the call, and you could start doing that now. And I am going to put all the links at once so that you can just right now grab all of these links. Oops, not letting me do that. Let's see. Maybe I have too many links. I'll start with a couple of them here first. We have, so I'm going to start. First, I'm going to just put these.
Thank you so much for tuning in here to Awake TV Network.
Whoops.
I am your host, Jennifer Hill, and I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Whoops.
If this is your first time joining us here on Awake TV Network.
Oh, got a recording playing.
All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you that on our Global Coherence website, we have a beautiful partner page for the HeartMath Institute. And I put a link in the chat just for this. And on this page, you'll learn some things about the HeartMath Institute. You could click here to become a member. And it's really important that organizations like HeartMath, that we become members, we support this so that more and more of those initiatives like the tree project I saw you all excited about can happen. There's some information about downloading the app here, a wonderful video here around HeartMath. If you want to find out about the inner balance sensor that many of us were using in order to map our coherence is there. There's also 2 courses that they've made available now for free. One is the HeartMath Experience, which has some wonderful things to help us to cultivate coherence. And they have an incredible kids initiative. So those parents that are homeschooling the kids right now, this is a great course for you to download and work with your children. There's a wonderful PDF here that has some information around the science of interconnectivity. And Roland was saying that we recorded a video earlier this week that has much more than what he covered today, all of those slides. So if you're interested in that, that presentation is right here on this page. So we'll be doing this for every one of our partners, and it's an opportunity on the Global Coherence Pulse for you to learn about all of our partner organizations. You'll also find that there's an events section here, and all of the events that I'll put links into are also on our events page. So you'll find links for the Global Days of Unity, which is starting at 2 o'clock today. There's a TV series. There's a Saturday Night Live tonight with one of our partners. So you can find all kinds of related events on our events page. So we're really excited about that. I'm going to put a few more links in, but I think I'll go first to say our next Global Coherence Pulse is going to be hosted by Claudia Wells, and she'll be representing both the Global Coherence Initiative, also IONS that she's involved with, but she'll be helping us to take now the science and bring it back into a relationship with our own part in creating greater coherence. Claudia, I don't know if you want to say something about that while I'm just grabbing some links.
Well, I think a big part of what I'm going to talk about is the synergy that's available when we are in this psychophysiological coherence, and how that helps us bring coherence into natural systems, which is a hypothesis of the Global Coherence Initiative.
Beautiful. I also have Sandra Hay and Matthew from Earth Dance. They're going to be hosting our next event in June. Sandra, why don't you unmute for a minute so we can hear from you?
Yeah, are we good?
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, Roland, for such a beautiful meditation and understanding of what the heart math science is about. That was brilliant, and we're very grateful to be participating with this amazing group of people in this pulse. And we are here at Earth Dance, which is we're in our 24th year this year. And for 24 years, we've been having festivals all over the globe, celebrating global coherence and peace on the dance floor. And in the midst of each of these festivals, which have been going on for, as I said, 24 years, there's a moment in time where every festival, everywhere in the world, stops at the same time, midnight London time, and plays the same prayer and same track for peace everywhere. And it's a moment of just where you realize that you're connected to everybody in the prayer at the same moment, and the velocity of the power of the heart opening is really magical and strong. So we hope that you come to some of our festivals this summer. Of course, we're going to have to do them virtually for a while. So on June 21st, we'll be doing a collaboration with one of our producing partners here on the mainland on June 21st. So we hope that we'll be able to see you there then. What's that? Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. One thing we wanted to just share that one of the things that we've done in Earth Dance for many years, about maybe 17 years ago, we did the largest global Om that had ever happened. And it was like this extraordinary experience where thousands of people all over the world were Oming at the same time. And then the next year we did the largest drum circle led by Mickey Hart and Zakir Hussain. That was the largest drum circle that had ever happened in the world together. So when we get to, we're kind of come more from the festival format, not so much from the science is obviously through the human spirit, but so we hope that you join us in those kind of activities as we can continue producing more virtual festivals this summer until we can get together again in the physical. So thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Appreciate it. So we will have a Global Coherence Pulse right in the middle of a Earth Dance Festival offering, which will be really wonderful. I wanted to bring on Dirk just for a moment. I put some links again in the chat. There's a nice big batch of links, and one of them is on Sunday morning. Dirk is from Global Coherence Hotspot, is going to be offering a webinar, so that link is there.
Thank you so much, Teresa and Claudia and Roland. It's really beautiful, and I'm honored to be part of and one of the partners here. I'll keep it brief. We are having coherent pockets all around the globe, where what we call Coherence Hotspot. We're building coherent communities. Every week we have a coherence webinar. A couple of weeks, Roland was so kind to help and kick that off with us, and he was our guest. Tomorrow is one again, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Feel free to join us. You have to register. Just go to coherencehotspot.com or follow the link that Teresa put in there. And if you feel you'd like to contribute to the Global Pulse, you're more than welcome to join us from wherever you are on the planet. So thank you, Teresa, and all the others.
Great. Thank you so much. So I am also just putting again in the links today, right in following us at 2 o'clock. So in an hour from now, some of our partners, Global Days of Unity, is starting a 5-hour broadcast, and they have a beautiful lineup. So check out globaldaysofunity.com. And on Saturday night, tonight, there's some friends of ours that are doing something called Saturday Night Live through this shelter in time. And it's music and meditation and all kinds of fun things. I'm going to join tonight and see how that is. And then we have also the Sunday webinar. And then next week, Roland's on Awake TV several times. And I brought Amanda on also. And just want to thank you and Bree, Amanda, for all of that you're doing to make these television shows and the Global Coherence Pulse and so many other things available to so many people. So if you want to unmute yourself for just a minute, Amanda and Bree, both of you, thank you so much for all you're doing to help.
I want to say a huge thank you to Bree. I mean, you rocked today's show here. The hour before, we had the honor of having Dr. Roland McCready on Awake TV Network. It's awaketvnetwork.live. HeartMath has started a new series on awaketvnetwork.live, and Roland had 2 panelist guests on, master HeartMath trainers on Awake TV Network, and Bree ran that show flawlessly, and she just ran this Pulse flawlessly. So I want to say thank you to you, Bree, Teresa, Claudia, Roland, this whole group of Global Pulse Initiative folks. Thank you so much for inviting us in. You guys have been putting this together for quite some time. You guys have been engaged in your work for many, many years, bringing more love to the planet, teaching through science, teaching through the heart space and dance and creativity and all different aspects of what you're doing. So I just want to say it's an honor to be a part of this experience as Awake TV Network. And Awake TV Network is really in the business of sharing information. We want to be a resource for people to go to support the raising of vibrational frequency of consciousness on our planet. So Global Coherence Pulse is in direct alignment with the purpose of Awake TV Network. So I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to participate and be a part of this. And I am very thankful. We have Roland McCready as part of the Coalition for Global Unity. It's every Monday, 12 p.m. for 52 weeks. It's a 30-minute meditation that we're asking the world to tune into. And Roland will be on Monday on Awake TV Network.live hosting that. He's all over the place right now. And then Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, he has a special on Global Coherence Initiative, the Science of Global Coherence, that I'll be hosting on Awake TV Network. I'm excited for that show as well. So thank you, Teresa, for this opportunity. And thank you, Bree, for rocking today, my dear.
Yes, thank you, Bree. So and it just slipped out that it's your birthday today, Amanda. So we're all sending you beautiful wishes for your birthday today. Thank you so much. And I posted all of those links to the coalition on Monday, the Tuesday event with Roland. All of it's there. So you have lots to do today if you'd like to continue this. And if you're listening to the recording or you're coming back to this at any time, know that you're contributing to the pulse here. And I wonder if we could see what our average was. I saw we got up to 3.5 as a global coherence. Let's see. Can you tell us how we did today?
Just a second, and I will. Let's see. We got to go back to the history section here. It's pretty neat because it also will map our global.
I just downloaded the map the app about a week ago with the sensor. And I have to say, it's really wonderful to just do it like every day. I'm popping on and I'm kind of seeing what it takes to actually do that. Okay, go ahead, Roland.
Did you talk? Did you
all right.
talk about the sensor at all? The sensor, Teresa. Did you talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying our average coherence for the global coherence pulse today was around a little about around 2.5, and we added 203,000 coherence points to the global field, which is pretty awesome actually. So we had over 300 people for a long time. That's a lot of coherence to add to the field for a pulse. So I think we had a successful pulse. And to Claudia's point earlier, just so everybody knows, you don't have to have the app. You don't have to have an app to meditate, of course, or you don't have to measure your coherence. But it does allow us a way to see where you are in the world. And when you see those lights, those points on the map, they're little dots of light, but they really are light radiations. Everywhere there's a dot, there's somebody radiating light to the planet. So it's if nothing else, a way to be part of the community. Let everybody see where you are, and down the road to take it to the next level. If you do want to get a sensor and be part of the research that we'll be doing in future pulses to where we can actually measure the impact of how many and what the coherence level is, that's awesome, but certainly not required.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Please visit globalcoherencepulse.org. You'll find all the links that we talked about, the page with Roland's the heart map page, so that you can find all those wonderful resources they're offering, and more partner pages will be coming soon. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Continue to pulse your beautiful love and compassion and care into the world throughout the day today and every day. Thank you. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Anyway, take care.
Bye-bye.